Hello and welcome back to CreateByHaven. We are starting a new book called The Ethan I Was Before by Ali Standish. I think that's how you pronounce her name, or his name. But this is a golden sower, I believe, and I'm going to be doing it in multiple parts. And this is read using the app Sora. So here we go. The Ethan I Was Before. Prologue. Casey's window has been dark for 59 days. It's been dark for so long that someone else might easily forget she ever lived there, or that she even existed at all. I haven't forgotten. Tonight, like all the other nights, I wait until everyone is asleep. Then I tiptoe downstairs, slip into my cot, and creep out the front door. I climb onto the roof of our Subaru and sit there, staring. I've stared at Casey's window for so many nights, I no longer see the 4 black panes held together by the skeleton of the frame. All I see is a dark hollow where there used to be light, but tonight when I step out onto the porch, something is different. Tonight there is a car in Casey's driveway. Casey's window has been dark for 59 days, but now a light flashes on and a yellow glow seeps into the night. I pull my breath in so fast that the frigid air burns the back of my throat. I hold it there. Before I can stop myself, my feet slam against the pavement, and I am running down across the street and into the reeds yard. My gloveless fingers fumble on the ground until I find a suitably large pebble. I position myself underneath Casey's window and swing the stone up on the air, hitting the top left pane. For a second, nothing happens. Then a shadow slides up the wall and a face appears in the window. I feel Casey's name rise up from the place where it stays, deep in my chest. But then I get a better look at the face above, and her name lodges in my throat. The drawn complexion and mussed hair belongs to Mrs. Reed, Casey's mother. I duck down into the shadow of the reeds hedge next to their front stoop, hoping that she wouldn't have time to spot me. I crouch, my face resting against the scratching branches until I feel sure she isn't anymore. My eyes flicker to the stoop, where a crisp white square of paper rests against the bricks. Before I have time to think, I snatch the letter up. Then I sprint back to my driveway and drop the porch stairs. I look what's in my hands. Not a letter, a bill. I glance at the return address. I know what the words mean, but they don't make any sense. The earth begins to seesaw. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Throwing rocks at her window like I expected her to be up there. But of course she isn't. I know where she is now. I'm still trying to catch my breath from the dash across the reeds yard, but I'm suddenly filled with the urge to run until I'm sure I will never see this place or that window ever again. Like swimming so far out to sea, you know you won't have the energy to make it back to shore. Once my feet start moving, I can't seem to make them stop. I have to get Casey. That's the end of the prologue. What I know about myself. My name is Ethan Truitt. I'm 12 years old and 4 months old. I have been in the car for 15 hours, 4 minutes, and 32 seconds, which is probably why my left butt cheek has gone numb. My older brother, Rowdy, who is snoring next to me, hates me. Sometimes I hate me too because I know I'm responsible for everything that happened in Boston. That's why the Ethan I was before is gone. Palm Knot. According to the city limit sign when we drive into town, Palm Knot, Georgia, is the hidden jewel of the South. Mom says that used to be in the hidden jewel of the South before the wind and ocean and air swept away the paint from the U. So you can see the U is missing right in that word. When I think of jewels, not often, I think of bright, sharp, polished things. But driving through Palm Knot, everything I see is kind of drooping and faded and flat. More like an ocean pebble that's been moved over lots of years. As we turned onto Main Street, my butt cheek starts to cramp up again. I've been leaning against the car door for the past few hours, trying to keep as much distance as I can between me and Rhodey. But now I shift my weight and accidentally bump my knee into his. The rattle of his breath suddenly stops, his eyes flash open, and he jerks his leg away from mine, as if he's afraid I might be carrying some highly contagious disease. He looks at me in disgust. He doesn't say anything, but I can read the words flashing through his eyes. Watch it, freak. I don't flinch. I'm used to this now. Rhodey hasn't spoken to me since the day I tried to wait for the 3rd time. That first night, when I found the bill that Mrs. Reed must have dropped on her way into the house, I only made it south to the South Station before a police officer stopped me. Apparently, a 12-year-old hanging around the bus station alone in the middle of the night is suspicious. But the second time I ran, I was smart about it. I looked up the bus times in advance. I made it to the station for a mid-afternoon bus and got on behind for a middle-aged woman who could have been mistaken for my mother. And it worked. That time I almost got to Casey. Almost. That's why I knew I had to try one more time. I waited for my chance, for the first opportunity when Mom and Dad would leave me alone with just Rhodey. And then I ran away again. I only got halfway down the block before someone jerked my shoulder back, making me trip over my own feet and fall to the pavement. Rhodey was right about everything he said that day. I know that now, but I don't have to tell him about it. You boys awake back there? Mom calls from the front seat. Rhodey grunts and pulls his Boston College hat down lower over his eyes. Doing okay, Ethan? Mom had started to say my name the way she placed the teetering stacks of her best china into boxes back in Boston. Carefully, slowly, like she's afraid of breaking something fragile and precious. I nod. We're almost home, she says. Rhodey glares out the window. This place isn't home, it's a dump. He has a point. The porches of the house all sag like giant hammocks. Trees grow crooked and claw-like out of the sandy oil. The narrow roads are rough and lumpy, and even the water looks clouded and gray, like the bay is filled with lead. Your Grandpa Ike needs us here, Rhodey, Mama says, turning around to face us. We need you to stay positive, please. This is a fresh start for all of us. Rhodey's eyes narrow into little pools of ice, and he aims a kick at the console between the two front seats. Stop lying. You don't even know Grandpa Ike. He's your own father, and you barely even talk about him. Rhodey, Dad barks. Don't start again. That's enough. Just enough. It's been a long drive. But Rhodey's right about this, too. Mom and Dad announced we were moving here the day after my third attempt at running away. They said we all need a change of scenery. I guess it shouldn't have come as such a surprise. This is the only place they could move us to get me away from Boston. Since Grandpa Scott lives just a few streets down from our old house, and it's not like Mom and Dad could afford to just buy a new place somewhere. They've been telling anyone who can listen we're moving to Palm Knot so we can help Grandpa Ike, who's getting up there in years. I pretend to believe them, but I know they're lying. We didn't move so we could help Grandpa Ike. We moved because of what I did to Casey. Grandpa Ike. 5 minutes later, Dad swerves into a gravel road, and we pass a few hours in varied states of dilapidation. I don't know that word. Dilapidation? Yeah. Before pulling up in front of boxy wood-sided house at the end of the street. It's not the most run-down place on the street, but it's not the nicest either. There's a rusty truck parked out in the front, and the garden beds are overflowing with brown tufts of withering weeds. Mom gasps and covers her eyes with her palm. Look at the place, she says. He's let it go into ruin. Then it's a good thing we came, Dad said, forcing cheer into his voice. Everybody out! I unhook my seatbelt and thrust the door open, desperate to stretch my muscles and fear fresh air. But as soon as I'm out of the car, the humidity wraps around me like a wet fleece blanket, so thick I can barely breathe. An insect drone swells up from the gnarled wall of smashed trees that surround us. Mom stands in the gloomy shade of the house, squinting up at it and shaking her head. Maybe it's just the effect of the shadows, but her eyes look gray and stormy. I hear a croaking noise and look toward the wooden porch to see a door open and the silhouette of a man emerging. Grandpa Ike. He doesn't come down to greet us. He just stands there, hands in his pockets, staring. Hello, Ike, Mom says. She greets him with the enthusiasm of someone who's just opened their door to find a greasy salesman waiting out on the stoop. Grandpa Ike says nothing. Great, Rhodey mutters. So he's a lurker. Mom hisses something back at him. Dad watches closely as Rhodey and I grab 2 suitcases from the trunk. Mom and Dad have been careful to keep an eye out wherever Rhodey and I are together, ever since they found us in the street that day. Rhodey pinned me against a parked car while blood dripped into the pavement from my scraped knees. Reluctantly, I shuffled up the porch, and there was most of the white paint chipped away to reveal the bare skin of the wood. Then I'm standing face to face with Grandpa Ike. He's tall, over 6 feet, and solid, like someone built him from a stack of bricks. His eyes and beard are the same silvery gray color, and he has a smear of mustard in the corner of his mouth. "Whoa, Ethan," he says. He looks me straight in the eye for a second before lifting a duffel bag easily from my shoulder and leading me inside. "Your room's upstairs." Grandpa Ike's house is very different from ours back in Boston. For one thing, it's old. Our house in Boston was old too, but it didn't seem like it. It had been clean shower heads that sprayed hot water, and shiny marble counters and digital appliances in the kitchen. It only takes a couple of hours to figure out that Ike's house, my house, has none of those things. The shower spurts out lukewarm water. The kitchen counters are stained green and brown, and every few minutes the fridge makes a noise like someone with a cold clearing their throat. Ha-huck, ha-huck. There are also boxes everywhere, stacked behind the washing machine, wilting in the back porch, peeking out from under the beds. Most of the garage is taken up by an ancient hunk of metal on wheels that Grandpa Ike calls the fixer-upper. After we unpack the car, Mom bakes the frozen pizza and hands out slices on paper plates. Grandpa Ike says he's already eaten, but sits in near silence at the table with us, looking on while we wolf down our dinner. I'm glad that he doesn't seem interested in telling me how much I've grown or forcing me to answer questions about my best subject or my favorite sports. "Can I be excused?" I asked after 10 long minutes. "Did you eat enough?" "I had 2 pieces, Mom." "Okay, well, let me come with you and make up your bed." "I can handle it." I throw my plate in the trash can and retreat upstairs before she can object. My new room is actually okay. It's a lot bigger than the old one, and it even has a window seat where I sit for a long time staring. The window looks out on a marsh, where moonlight shimmers on the black water, winding through the reeds, giving it shiny scales. I'm just about to go to bed when I hear a rapping at the door. "Come in." Grandpa Ike swings the door open and stands in the hall. "Settling in okay?" "Sure, I guess." I stand awkwardly by my bed. "Well, all right then." Grandpa Ike nods and squints around the bare room. "Planning to decorate, "Not really." "What's the point, eh?" he replies. "You've got all the necessities." His eyes fall on the chest of drawers stuffed in the corner of my room. I follow his gaze and notice that a photograph has been placed on it. Grandpa Ike clears his throat. "Well, good night. I'm next door if you need me." Rhodey's room is on one side of mine, so Grandpa Ike's must be on the other, behind the door that's been kept shut since we got here. "Good night," I say, relieved that there's no need to be going to be a pep talk. "No, I'm always here if you need anything," speech adults feel required to give me these days. Suddenly I hear a scratching sound coming from the ceiling. Grandpa Ike shrugs. "Only mice," he says. "Nothing to worry about unless it's squirrels. Then you've got a big problem. Anyway, sleep well." Just then, Rhodey's speakers stormed to life, the bass of his music vibrating against our shared wall. Grandpa Ike looks at me, one eyebrow raised. Or not. I decide I'm going to like Grandpa Ike. So, that was just, I think, 2 chapters plus the prologue. Oops. And so, we're about, let's see. I don't know. We're pretty far, though. So yes, special thanks to Sora. I use Sora on this to read to you guys. And I might not be able to finish this video because I'm going to have to turn on my iPad pretty soon. So thanks. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Bye.